this here is just oh, that's what do you what's I really don't know what to say at this point. I mean, I'm aware of this population task force anyway, and what people that have watched me for at least since February will be aware, or they might not, but they might remember that I made this video here, the SNP National Population Strategy views as expendable, and admittedly, when I said that in this video here, that I was unaware that this even existed, nor that task force. I'd never heard of it. So I went into this PDF, I went through it for an hour odd, and I was somewhat open-minded, but oh, come on, I'm a bit long in the tooth for falling for anything at this point and thinking this was going to be our saving grace, but you know, I was willing to give them a chance, and it didn't take long for it to become pretty clear the PDF and the people that were, you know, writing, or were led to believe were writing. You know, we know it's civil servants, but it was a climatologist, big brain, Fiona Hislop and the gang. We're supposed to believe that they did all the exclusive, hard-hitting fact-checking and knowledge-based approaches, etc. But nonetheless, it became pretty clear that they really could not care less if Scotland was completely wiped clean, empty, and then they just poured in a bunch of Kenyans, so long as they had enough people, and they get to decide what it constitutes enough people, but so long as there's a group of people within the country that can be classified as working aids, that's all that really boiled down to. So I was like, well, what can we do to address our demographic issues? Well, you could try this, we could try that, and none of it at all, really, from what I recall, made any reference to things being put in place to ensure that we don't die out. No, it was just all about ensuring that there's a working age population, and Scotland's always had a history of migration. That was the patter that was running throughout this shit. So as I say, I was aware of this task force, but I'd forgotten about it really, because I thought this was just a one-off PDF. I didn't realise that Angus fucking Robertson, you know, the big bean of Scotland, you know, him and that other gimp, Alex Gray, if I remember correctly. I mean, this is the actual thing here, from what the Express article's talking about. But these two guys, I mean, you just could not get. Wait, yeah, look at this. We click on this today, and what we do, well, I'll tell you what you don't do. Anything, really, of substance, of use, of worth in that parliament, your embarrassments, both of you, especially Angus Robertson. But they're responsible. This is Angus Robertson and this guy on the right hand side get paid to stand in Parliament and read scripts, and behind the scenes they're responsible apparently for enhancing Scotland's international relationships, promoting Scotland's ambition to be a good global citizen. Need I say any more? You know, about protecting our place and interests in Europe. Okay, well, you're public servants. Not everybody in the country wants to rejoin Europe, so get fucked. And influencing migration policies for Scotland's distinct needs, very distinctive from elsewhere. There's that. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about that. It's the leaked minutes, or not leaked, released minutes. But there they are there. And you go, Paul and Barry fucking chuckle. Angus Robertson and his psychic Neil Gray. Neil Gray admittedly is not as bad as Angus Robertson. You really have to be a horrible human being and an embarrassment to beat Angus Robertson, or even be on his wavelength. I've never seen a man talk about an institution the way that Angus Robertson talks about the EU. It's weird. Anyway, attention was the fact that it initially said that the task force led by Angus Robertson features an array of ministers that say Scotland should welcome everybody, not just those who are solely coming to do a job. Right? So naturally a counter argument to that could be, yeah, well, they're clearly talking about like pensioners, so they should be able to come over here and be expats. I'm pretty sure from what I recall, they don't elaborate on that. So the jury's still out on that one as to what the fuck they mean. But this is the SNP we're talking about, so of course they mean anyone and everyone if they had their way. Obviously a wee bit of backstory on this task force. It was first set up in June of 2019 to consider Scotland's future population challenges, including intensifying existing interventions where they are effective and developing solutions to address demographic and population change. And the task force meets quarterly, apparently. And as I said, I genuinely forgot all about the task force because it shows how much of an impact they've made since their inception. I know they'll use Brexit to sort of, brush you off any criticism, but whatever. Because fundamentally, as I said, I went through the PDF and there's not one fucking mention to anything. At the very bare minimum, meet in the middle. If you wish to insist and simp and spurg out for immigration controls, you could at least simultaneously try to think of ways or address the issues that us as a people face. But instead of that, we have to pretend that we are no different to the people that you're trying to import, as we embrace this idea of global citizenship, which is blatantly only being pushed as a concept to normalise and make it easier for us to accept that people are being imported in en masse, in abundance, who are not like us, but we have to pretend that they are to a certain extent because we're all one. Anyway, or published in 2020, Scotland, like many other nations, is facing a demographic challenge. Yes, nobody's denying that other parts of the world, but in particular Europe and America and whatnot, this is a much more pressing issue, in particular for us, whites. You have to ask yourself why that is the case. And then we just seem to be importing people that have a lot of children. So that is grounds for a dilution of a nation at the very bare minimum, but it's also grounds for where power shifts and demographic change. Just a word that gets thrown about willy-nilly these days now, but if you dare expand or elaborate or ask for do they not see the end goal of our long-term outcomes as has been discussed at all? Well, you're in grounds for Humza's hate brigade to come to the door for speaking out of turn, But anyway, it says here that due to declining birth rates in Scotland, lowest rate since records began in 1855, and it was only late last year, if I recall correctly, that it saw a slight uptick, so presumably that's because of all the lockdowns, etc. So that would have pissed off Sturgeon somewhat, because we're supposed to be empowering females of all ages here. That starts from the nursery and ends when they're wheelchair bound in their 90s. You have to be empowered, we have to embrace feminism, etc. So pregnant women, I don't know what you're fucking playing at, really. You're angering our First Minister. But on a serious note, that's one thing that's always irritated me about these individuals, because they're so obsessed with promoting feminism to no end, but yet they'll simultaneously insist that there's an issue that needs to be solved, and that issue, of course, is demographic decline. Well, I'm sorry to tell you this, that you have to admit, hold your hands up, that maybe, just maybe some, I'm not saying all, if it's linked to feminism, that maybe the incessant attempts now's not the fucking time for that. There's a time and a place for your feminist nonsense, and it's not when you insist that we need to do something about demographic decline. Maybe you should be sort of maybe taking your foot off the pedal a little bit, but no, we need to do more, we need to accelerate. You know what I mean? There's still work to be done. Gender equality's not been achieved, the witches didn't get burnt for nothing, remember? And this is the introductory remarks. AR welcomed attendees. This is Angus Robertson, so that would have been said with some sort of strange tone of voice, as he always does, trying to hold his erection as he's thinking about EU flags in the back of his mind, probably. Attends and offered a special welcome to new task force members who joined the group, commented on the importance of the overall population agenda, and in the context of the recent NRS projections and the task force continued role in supporting a cross-cutting policy approach to trends. Now, of course, the NRS population projections. Population in Scotland is projected to continue increasing until around mid-2028, peaking at 5.48 million, then projected to fall by 1.8 to 5.39 million by 2045. Projections are lower than the previous 2018 base projection. The difference is mainly due to lower fertility rates. And again, what the fuck's been done about that? What are the SNP doing about that? Nothing at all. These are not concerns that the SNP hold. These are not concerns that are talked about. Now again, it's ignored completely. Absolutely. It makes no sense to me at all. And as I've said in previous videos as well, that I've actually believed that there should be some form of legitimate, and I mean legitimate and independent sort of citizen assembly, like they did with the climate. And I believe that the climate one was total fabrication. I don't buy that, but I do not believe that was independent of government at all. But I want a legitimately independent of government citizens assembly, so the people of this nation who will supposedly be represented in said citizens assembly can actually have a proper discussion about what can be done, what should be done, and what we're prepared to accept going forward, instead of these people basing policy proposals on fucking projections. Okay, and I'm not saying that the projections are wrong or skewed in any way or shape or form. It stands to reason, as things continue as they are, Scotland's people will decline. But I think it's fucking abhorrent that we have to sit here and watch as every single political entity, irrespective of party, then takes it upon themselves to start advocating for change in some shape or form, and none of that change ever fucking addresses us as a people. It's always about what can be done and at what pace it should be done and when it should be done to get people here to have babies, etc. on our fucking behalf. So that's my issue with this, and it always has been. Scotland's population is projected to age. Number of people aged 65 and over is projected to grow by 29.7 by mid-2045 from 1 million plus to 1.37 million, and the number of children is projected to fall, and that this is an issue. These are the sort of things that need to be addressed. These are the sort of things that these people should be asking. Why is this happening? What more can we do to stop this? This is a concern. No, it's fine, because Hamza Yusuf's probably already been on the phone to his 54 cousins. It's okay. You know, it just irritates me. It just fucking, I don't know. I really don't understand how these individuals can to sit and make policy predicated on stuff like this. These trends go as followed, and then the next set of trends or the next set of statistics, etc., it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And I guess we're not even going to properly know the scale of the diversity Scotland now has, because for some strange reason there's a bunch of half-wits in the country that either A, don't know how to fill out a fucking census, or B, just don't want to. Just when was filling out a census, an FU to the system. I don't know. Maybe there's something that I'm not aware of or something. But you know, all I'm really interested in is what percentage now it is that's Scottish as opposed to what it was in 2011. But no, we'll never fucking know, really. Task Force members also highlighted a range of points relating to the presentation. Among the key points included how other European countries are dealing with similar issues around falling population, and this is something also to take into consideration when the SNP talk about devolved immigration powers. They try to pacify people by pretending it's just simply going to be, you know, a return to the way of old in regards to having EU freedom of movement. But if they're all, or a lot of these countries are facing the same issues, which they are, then do you really expect me to believe that you're going to be able to entice the people that they're hell-bent on keeping in their countries, especially when you were part of the EU for the longest time, freedom of movement at your disposal, and you couldn't do it then? I really fail to see how it's going to be done now. So when that can't be achieved, what's she going to do? Oh well, we're going to have to look further afield. And as I've said before, it just so happens that there's 2 continents out there that are just teeming with life, bursting at the seams to go over here. And then even if you refuse, if you put your foot down and say, no, we don't want you here, no fucking way. Well, it's a human right now with climate emergency, you know, on the horizon, and climate migration being recognised in the UN's Migration Compact, just to name one. And of course, the right to claim asylum. So, well, they're going to get you one way or the other. So you might as well just bend over and accept that diversity now, I guess. That's what they want us to accept, effectively say. You know, it's just such fucking manipulative nonsense. If every other country in the EU is facing the same issue, then you ain't going to be able to attract their young people or their vital workers, are you? It also says that there's an importance of looking at local level depopulation challenges. West Coast local authorities highlighted with an ageing and older population and how to support this cohort, and the need to ensure Scotland is a family-friendly nation. A family-friendly nation, because the more friendly it is towards families and the more it appears to be a family-friendly nation, the idea behind that being the more families might wish to come here. The families that need to come here because there ain't families here or enough of. Yeah. Population Programme work stream updates, members to note updates on the different work streams of the population programme, setting out the agreed approach for how the task force will consider different elements of the population strategy. As part of the attraction and welcoming strand, this meeting would focus on the programme for government commitment to develop a migration service for Scotland. On population balance, there would be a substantive item at the May task force around addressing local depopulation in rural and island communities. Within the family-friendly work stream, research and analysis was being undertaken to better inform and understanding and update the evidence base in regard to low birth rates in Scotland. And as I said, like, they just say it so flippantly and then they just move on as if this is a common fact. We all know this. The water is wet, the sky is blue, and birth rates in Scotland are record low. Now, what else do you want me to say, like? Reflected to the task force that there was a collective responsibility across all ministers to ensure a wider understanding of the population challenges and opportunities which Scotland faced. On this point, task force members discussed a need to highlight rural challenges when conveying overall messages. Migration Service for Scotland spoke to somebody from Migration Service for Scotland via paper, highlighting the working title for the service pending finalising of the service's scope. The two main priorities of the proposed service were outlined as an attraction and retention, and the the proposed service would increase the advice, increase the advice and help offered to people who wanted to come to Scotland. This would build on existing resources such as Talent Scotland and Moving to Scotland. Task force members moved to discuss key recommendations from the paper, agreeing that the service should include a focus on presenting the family-friendly position of the government to people interested in moving to Scotland, as opposed to, creating more families in Scotland. Well, how the fuck would you want to do that? It was also agreed that the service should present a package in support of people moving to remote and rural areas and the specific need of key workforces such as those in health and social care, and they should be aligned with the service offering to ensure not just recruitment but also long-term retention, recognising that values are an important aspect of how Scotland presents itself to people who may want to come and live here, in turn creating a desire to attract people on the basis of making a life in Scotland rather than solely coming to do a job. You can paint it up as effeminately as you wish, or as straight to the point as you wish. It does not make a blind bit of difference as far as I'm concerned, because at the end of the day, this is still replacement migration, no matter what way you cut it. On this point, it was noted that the current constitutional arrangements created barriers to attracting people without an established offer of employment, and that there was a pressing need to deliver a service which could support the need of the Scottish economy. So members highlighted the need also for people who contribute to communities, with some places of Scotland relying heavily on migrant workforces, where the impact of Brexit was seen to be impacting negatively, leaving communities in a fragile state. Task force members agreed to work across portfolios to ensure a joint offer was created which brought services together. Oh, Jesus. And then it says here that a Strategic Insights Unit, Adaptation to Demographic Change Work Strands. Yeah, so many references to things that I've never fucking heard of nor seen, and you can't even see any of it because, again, all we're lumbered with is minutes. It's provided an overview of a proposed piece of work about adapting to demographic challenges. He outlined the two main strands of proposed work: public service delivery and labour market participation, both in the context of an ageing population. Again, just so matter-of-factly, whatever. Task force members agreed that they were content with the paper, and why can't we see the fucking paper then? With a proposal to bring findings back to a future task force. Why do they get to see things that we don't? Task force members call for links to be made between this work and ongoing work around economic transformation and the future skills action plan. There was also a future call for making it broader than labour market participation in public services, so that it better aligned with the Sustainable Development Regime, aka the National Performance Framework review process. Members also suggested that an equality impact assessment should be included to take account of gender differences, impact on older people, and with consideration to the often underreported role played. Oh, fuck off. Immediately. All this talk, all this focus, all of these publications, documents, PDFs, meetings, task force, all these photo opportunities, media appearances, you name it, it's there to talk about immigration. It's always about immigration and never about us as a people. And it's got so fucking bad now in their attempts to normalise migration, they now pretend we don't exist as a distinctive people. And they call us the problem for pointing out the problem.